Welcome to the Insights Nexus, unbiased U.S. news updates without spin. Before we begin, we want to clarify that all news updates are sourced from reputable publications. This content is generated using AI, and we assume no legal responsibility for the accuracy or developments of the news presented. Viewers are encouraged to verify details from original sources. We've gathered the most relevant updates from the last 24 hours across multiple categories. Let's begin with USA politics. Trump announces plan to double steel tariffs. Former President Donald Trump stated during a rally at U.S. Steels of Works in Pennsylvania that he will increase tariffs on foreign-made steel to 50%. Next, Supreme Court allows Trump to revoke temporary legal status of 500,000 immigrants. The ruling affects thousands of Venezuelan, Cuban, Haitian, and Nicaraguan migrants, with legal experts debating its long-term implications. Global politics. Hamas seeks changes in U.S. ceasefire proposal. Hamas has responded to the U.S.-backed ceasefire plan, but demands modifications before agreeing to release hostages. Next story is, Ukraine destroys over 40 Russian military aircraft in drone attack. Ukrainian officials confirmed that drone strikes targeted Russian air bases, marking one of the most significant attacks in recent months.
Business and market news. Wall Street surges as tech stocks led market rally. Apple Incorporated and Microsoft Corporation reported strong earnings, driving investor optimism. Federal Reserve signals possible rate cuts amid inflation concerns. Fed Chair Jerome Powell hinted at potential interest rate reductions to stabilize economic conditions.
Sports news. French Open. Aryna Sabalenka advances to quarterfinals. The tennis star defeated Amanda Minisova and will face Olympic champion Qin Wenjiang in the next round. Kansas City Chiefs secure playoff spot. Quarterback Patrick Mahomes led the team to victory against the San Francisco 49ers, ensuring their place in the postseason.
Music news. Taylor Swift regains control over her entire music catalog. The pop star finalized a landmark deal to reclaim ownership of her first 6 albums. Miley Cyrus releases new album Something Beautiful. The singer celebrated the launch with a music video for her latest single, Easy Lover.
Movies news. Raid 2 sees 91% growth in box office earnings. Ajay Devgn's crime thriller continues to perform well, nearing 50% profit margins. Houseful 5 trailer sparks nostalgia and excitement. The latest installment in the comedy franchise references classic Bollywood films. Science and technology news. NASA's Perseverance rover captures selfie with dust devil on Mars. The rover marked 1,500 souls on the red planet with a stunning image. SpaceX's Starship mega rocket explodes over Indian Ocean. The latest test flight ended in failure, raising concerns about future missions.
Arts. Serendipity Arts Festival expands to 10 cities. The renowned festival is marking its 10th anniversary with events in Birmingham and Dubai. NGMA Bengaluru hosts Tribal Art Workshop. The National Gallery of Modern Art is organizing a special event to showcase indigenous art.
Top U.S. news from leading channels. Now, let's highlight key stories from reputable U.S. news sources. Bloomberg. Trump announces plan to double steel tariffs. Reuters. Israeli forces kill third Palestinian in West Bank in 24 hours. NBC News. Trump withdraws NASA nominee, citing review of prior associations. Fox News. Trump's tariff hike on steel causes new uncertainty. CNN. Trump's mass firings at several agencies will remain on hold.
Okay, let's dive into this really interesting source material you shared with us. Today we're doing a deep dive, looking closely at a concept outlined for a daily news briefing. It's called the Insights Nexuses. And our mission really is to pull out the key ideas, the nuggets, and just understand the approach this source is proposing for, cutting through the noise, delivering news effectively.
Yeah, and what jumps out right away from the source is the ambition. It's aiming for a quick listen, 10 minutes, and crucially, an unbiased rundown of important U.S. news. The focus, it says, is purely on the facts. The idea is to help you stay informed without getting, overwhelmed. It even mentions it's designed for text-to-speech, with hosts alternating segments.
And right there, near the top of the source description, something caught my eye. A disclaimer. It specifically mentions using reputable sources, that it's AI generated, and it actually recommends checking the original sources yourself. So this upfront transparency, especially calling out the AI and pushing verification, why is that detail highlighted as like a crucial part of this concept in the source?
Well, that seems to be a core insight the source itself is emphasizing. In today's media landscape, trust is fragile, right? So the source suggests that being explicit about the process, the tools like AI, relying on other established sources, and actually empowering you, the listener, to go check, that helps build credibility.
It seems baked into the source's stated goal.
Yeah.
Be unbiased, be factual.
Okay, right. That makes sense. So let's unpack how this concept, according to the source, aims to deliver those facts. Looking at the examples provided, it seems to organize news into clear categories.
Exactly.
Like for USA politics, the source brings up an example like a President Donald Trump's stated plan for increasing tariffs on foreign steel. But it doesn't just state the plan. The source description highlights why it matters. It frames it as an economic and political story, something impacting prices, trade, maybe even diplomatic ties, stuff that, could potentially affect you. And it's not just US focused, is it? The source material includes examples showing global connections, like the one about Ukraine confirming a major drone attack destroying Russian military aircraft. So that illustrates the concept isn't insular. It intends to cover significant international events too, recognizing they have relevance.
Okay, and then there's the business and market side. This is where the source material suggests things get, really interesting for the listener. It points to Fed Chair Jerome Powell hinting at possible interest rate cuts.
Right, and the source makes it crystal clear why this matters to the average person. It's not just abstract economics. Fed decisions, as the source notes, directly influence borrowing costs. We're talking homes, cars, credit cards. It's showing that direct line from high-level policy to, your wallet.
Exactly. Connecting those big policy moves to daily life, that seems key to the source's description. And looking at the science and tech examples provided, it mentions the SpaceX Starship mega rocket exploding during a test flight.
Yeah, which is interesting.
Because while the source might include exciting advancements, highlighting a setback like this suggests it aims for a factual picture, including the realities, the risks involved in pushing boundaries, which can be just as informative as the successes, right?
Absolutely. It paints a more complete picture, seemingly. And there's one more sort of unique element the source describes.
Oh, yeah.
A segment that quickly lists the top stories being highlighted by other major U.S. news channels. It mentions Bloomberg, Reuters, NBC, FOX, CNN. And the source presents this as a way to reinforce that unbiased approach. Look, it says, here's where multiple outlets are converging on the same key stories.
Okay, interesting. So showing convergence. What does this all tell us then about the overall model proposed in this source material?
Well, if you put it all together, the source seems to be laying out a concept for news built on speed first and foremost, factuality, breadth across different areas, politics, economy, global science, and this very deliberate transparency about its methods, including the AI part. It reads like an attempt to fight information overload, give you just the core facts quickly.
So this deep dive into the source material you shared really gives us a window into one potential model, a way to try and efficiently understand a pretty complex world. Thinking about this concept described in the source, what stands out to you listening right now about this kind of approach, or maybe the specific examples we touched on?
And maybe a final thought to leave you with. Given the source's emphasis on speed, breadth, and neutrality by just presenting the facts, does this kind of approach, as outlined in the source, actually provide enough context for real understanding? Or perhaps is an unbiased, fact-focused delivery method, like the one described here, itself a really powerful and maybe necessary tool for informed citizenship today? Something to think about.